Thanks for tuning in. We're back on the World News. The driest conditions in 50 years are wiping out cattle in northeastern Brazil. With no rain in a year and a half, many of the animals in the area have starved to death. The drought is affecting millions of people. Among the worst hit areas is the cowboy capital, Serita, 550 kilometers inland from the state capital of Recife. The region is heavily dependent on cattle ranching. Residual effects are making for desperate times. Milk production in the state has dropped 60% from 2.3 million liters last year to 900,000 liters in 2012. The price of vegetables and fruit has increased by anywhere from 100 to 200%. For those ranchers who still have cattle, they are forced to sell them at below market value. In Australia, the New South Wales Rural Fire Service braced for a deadly weekend from its Sydney Nerve Center as almost 100 fires raged across the state. With cutting-edge technologies, smartphone apps for at-risk residents, staff ready to assist thousands of volunteer firefighters. Dozens of out-of-control fires have burnt vast tracts of Australia, destroying homes and crops and killing animals, but not a single person has died. In addition, the Rural Fire Service is extremely proactive in promoting safety precautions and warns every family how to make their own survival plans. A severe warning was declared in parts of Victoria State on Friday, with a heat wave expected to intensify at the weekend. Despite fires raging across Southeast Australia, few homes have been destroyed, although thousands of head of stock have died and more than 865,000 acres of land has been scorched. In other stories, a robot that vomits on demand is the latest weapon in Britain's war on norovirus, a disease currently affecting more than 1 million people throughout the country. Called Vomiting Larry by its developer, the humanoid simulated vomiting system is designed to help scientists analyze contagion by simulating the retching process at the same speed and range as a human. Jim Jury went to meet him.
3, 2, 1.
Vomiting Larry gets to work. A humanoid simulated vomiting system, Larry helps scientists analyze contagion. He's particularly useful in the case of norovirus, a nasty bug which can live for 12 days on contaminated surfaces. Larry was designed by Catherine Makeson-Booth of Britain's Health and Safety Laboratory.
Larry is comprised of a mannequin head, which is known as Airway Larry, and he's what medical students use to practice things like laryngoscopies on the intubation. So he's very realistic. He has a real tongue and teeth in there that are different material types. His esophagus here is then linked to a cylinder which contains the fluid, so that's essentially his stomach. A piston or push rod then pushes the fluid up via a pneumatic ram which forces air under the piston, pushes the fluid up and out of Larry's mouth.
With little previous research done on the speed and reach of vomiting, Makeson-Booth devised a series of calculations to make Larry anatomically accurate.
The amount of pressure then was based on the amount of fluid that we had in the stomach and the distance that it would travel for the main bulk of fluid to land on the floor, i.e. 1.2 metres. And that then took 800 kilopascals in order to exert that pressure through the system and enter onto the floor.
Larry's mechanical stomach is loaded with water and fluorescent marker. Then it's time to stand well back. Cleaning up the mess is all part of the research, and it soon becomes clear why fluorescent dye is used.
So we'll switch the lights off and see just how well I've done.
Despite her best efforts at decontamination, remnants of Larry's vomit remain up to 3 meters away from his mouth. At least 1 million Britons have had norovirus this winter. A bug spread largely through projectile vomiting. It's easy to see why infection rates are so high. It takes just 20 norovirus particles to infect a healthy individual. Larry's inventor thinks he'll prove invaluable for medical students and cleaners on cruise ships and oil rigs, where outbreaks can spread like wildfire. But her advice to the rest of us is to wash our hands thoroughly if we want to avoid feeling as off colour as Larry.
Moving on, Guinness World Records reveals the latest incredible new feats as it launched 2013 Gamers Edition. Newly recognized as the largest collection of video game memorabilia, smallest arcade machine, highest score on FIFA, and youngest Gran Turismo Academy winner turned oral receiving driver. 31-year-old Britt Martin from Denver, Colorado, USA, is recognized for having the world's largest collection of video game memorabilia, with 8,030 items of merchandise. On the other end of the scale is world's smallest arcade machine that stands at just 124 by 52 by 60 millimeters. The computer engineer from Alberta, Canada, took 6 months to design and build the fully playable device, which was painted by his artist wife, Esther. British talent is also recognized in the Video Games Almanac. 15-year-old Jacob Gaby from Bushi this year achieved the highest score on FIFA.
My name is Brett Martin, and I hold the Guinness World Record for the largest video game memorabilia collection. The first figure I received was from my parents when I was about 8. It's a little 1989 applause figure of Mario holding a mushroom. It's about this size. And years later, when I still had it, I decided to find out if there were more figures in the set, because I was still playing video games pretty rapidly. And I discovered eBay, and then I saw a whole lot more merchandise of Mario and decided to find out exactly how much stuff was out there, and I'm still finding new stuff today.
In tennis, Agnieszka Radwanska humbled Dominika Cibulkova 6-0, 6-0 in a ruthless display of all-court tennis to win her second Australian Open warm-up tournament in 2 weeks at the Sydney International on Friday. The Pole secured her 9th straight victory from the start of the year in a little over an hour of one-side tennis when the hapless Cibulkova double faulted. Radwanska tempered her celebrations out of respect for her opponent and said she felt sympathy for the Slovakian, who had beaten 3 top 10 players on her way to the final. The 23-year-old Pole set her sights at becoming women's top player in 2013.
Of course, in this year, my goal is to be #1. So last year I was really close to be #1. So definitely I will try this year, and I hope so I can play on the same great tennis whole year.
Now in golf, world number 6, Louis Oosthuizen ended the second round with a real flourish to complete a bogey-free 64 and seize a 1-stroke lead in the Volvo Golf Champions on Friday. Britain's Scott Jamieson was 1 behind on 11 under 133 alongside overnight leader Thongchai JD of Thailand. 6 shots adrift in a share of 4th place on 139 were British pair Paul Lawrie and Danny Willett, Frenchman Julian Krasny, Ireland's Shane Lowry, Dane Thomas Bjorn, and Jiv Mika Singh of India. Oosthuizen got his round going by holding a 15-foot putt for birdies from the 7th to go out in 31. Oosthuizen then missed a short birdie chance at the 16th before sinking birdie putts of 45 and 25 feet at the 17th and 18th. The second round offered something a little different, the professionals competing in a program alongside the main event. Jamieson propelled himself into contention with 5 birdies on the front 9. Ernie Els, Nicolas Colsaerts, and Francesco Molinari were 8 strokes off the lead, while Padraig Harrington was a further shot adrift on 141. For our last story, let's head to the United States. Police in the American state of Virginia have an unusual case in their hands this week. People from the emergency lines are in panic. They said a lion was on the loose. Let's find out more.
But it wasn't a big cat, it was a dog. The owner of Charles shaves the Labrador poodle's hair to resemble a lion's mane. Some residents called police, convinced the lion had escaped from a local zoo. Investigators eventually solved the mystery, and once the national media found out, the Labradoodle became a star.
That's really adorable. And that ends today's World News. Thanks for the company.